So apparently, it's come to my attention, you are a bad Christian if you remotely support Donald Trump. And Christmas is the first time to come to grips with who Jesus really is. A baby in a manger, a baby who was a refugee, who was fleeing violence, who was a brown baby that clearly any MAGA evangelical would probably hate today, at least according to one viral Substacker who incidentally is also like an Antifa citizen journalist in Portland. It has never been more obvious to me that we are living in two completely different realities and that we desperately need the actual grace of God this Christmas. We're getting into it all today on the Isabel Brown Show. We are weeks away from Christmas Day, baby. And I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm a mom this year or what, but I am way more excited about Christmas than I ever have been. I'm way ahead on my gift giving. And let me just say, I cooked this year. Maybe we'll have to do an unboxing of all the gifts that I gave people on the channel so that you guys can see. I'm just on fire. The Christmas spirit has me in a chokehold. I'm already listening to the Michael Bublé Christmas album on repeat. Mariah Carey is not defrosting. She is fully thawed out in my house, baby. We are ready for every Christmas movie. And my husband is like, Isabel, slow down. We aren't even at Stranger Things coming back yet, which also I'm psyched for next week. But some people, it seems, are not very excited about the return of the Christmas season, particularly because they're upset about the state of American Christianity. Now, don't get me wrong. I often have my gripes with the state of American Christianity, but one citizen journalist in particular, a Substacker named Judith Dayal, Dayal, who lives in Portland, Oregon, and has amassed a pretty big following on Instagram and TikTok, has written a Substack article. By the way, her Substack is in the top 100, I believe, Substacks of world politics. So it's reaching a whole lot of people about how American evangelicals would not even celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ this year. She ended up posting this, and I'm going to leave it up for you while we read some of this piece together, on Instagram. It was shared by our friend, our amazing, beautiful friend, Allie Beth Stuckey, which is how I saw it to begin with. And as I'm reading through this, I was going through a loop. But the headline of this Substack article is 6 weeks until American evangelicals would celebrate the birth of a baby that they wouldn't even feed, apparently, because American evangelicals are so evil. I want to read through this with you because as I was reading through this article, I found myself, A, laughing because of the ridiculous absurdity of how bad this actually is, but B, in such an interesting analysis perspective of the two realities that people are clearly living in, right? I often say that on the show or when I'm on the news and trying to understand what's going on social media and explain that to people who aren't as chronically online as we are, that it is so obvious to me people are living in two separate realities these days. And I don't know what the solution to that is, but I read articles like this and I'm genuinely floored. So I figured you would be too. I had to sit through this. I refuse to live alone with this analysis and information, so now you have to too. Here it is, published just last week from Judith Dayal, 6 weeks. I think we're 5 weeks now until Christmas. She says 6 weeks until American evangelicals celebrate the birth of a baby that they wouldn't even feed. Buckle up. This is an interesting ride. We are 6 weeks out from December 25th, and I can't stop thinking about the irony of it all. 6 weeks, she says, until millions of American evangelicals gather together to celebrate the birth of a brown-skinned baby born into poverty. A baby that they would step over today. A baby whose family fled violence. A baby who wouldn't have survived under the same policies that they cheer for now. I have thoughts about that one line, but we'll come back. We'll come back. Back to this insane conversation here in just a second. But first, I want to talk about something that has hit me really, really hard since becoming a mom. I have realized that every decision I'm making about my health is not just about me anymore. It's about showing up for my daughter, Isla, for being present during all of her milestones and having the energy to keep up with her for decades to come. That is a totally different kind of motivation. But here's the problem. Our healthcare system is built to be reactive. You wait until something is very wrong and then you try to fix it. So when you want to try to take a proactive approach, it can be really hard to know where to even start. That is exactly why we've been partnering with our friends at Jevity. They make proactive health easier than ever. Jevity offers different membership tiers so that you can choose what fits your specific needs. You get at-home comprehensive blood draws testing over 100 health markers, way beyond what the standard checkup ever covers, with personalized health plans that have custom supplement protocols, access to functional longevity specialists, and ongoing guidance, plus tons of discounts on supplements and specialty testing. Jevity is now available in 47 states across the country. So if you're ready to be there for the people that you love, not just today, but for decades to come, you can use the code Isabel at the link in today's show notes for 20% off, because investing in your health now means so much more time with the people who matter the most. This date, she says, is not just a countdown, it's a mirror, and it reflects a movement that preaches Jesus with one hand while slamming the door shut with the other. A movement that quotes scripture at breakfast and votes to starve people by lunch. A movement that welcomes the stranger, but only when the stranger is white, wealthy, and already holding a passport. And at the center of that mirror is the cradle itself, a baby born into the margins, vulnerable, poor, a refugee before he could walk. The entire story of his life is God choosing the people that MAGA America pushes to the edge. And yet, under the current Trump administration, large portions of American evangelicalism not only ignore that truth, they actively contradict it. I'm having a hard time even just keeping a straight face through this. Here's her explanation. White evangelicals are still the most loyal part of Trump's base. And while they celebrate him like he descended from heaven itself, the policies they champion strip food from the hungry, shut out refugees, and unleash immigration agents on churches. The stranger becomes a threat to eliminate, not the guest to welcome. In this version of Christianity, the manger sits somewhere behind the border wall, behind rows of armed officers, behind a stack of deportation orders stamped in red ink. In today's America, brown bodies are problems. Families seeking safety are invaders. Children in detention are the cost of sovereignty. And all the while, congregations gather under twinkling Christmas lights, singing O Little Town of Bethlehem, as if Bethlehem wouldn't be the first place on Trump's list for raids, checkpoints, and bans. The evangelical MAGA machine celebrates the baby in the manger, but refuses every moral truth that baby represents. Power isn't meant to be hoarded. Power isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to kneel. Walls aren't meant to rise. Doors are meant to open. So poignant. But the message has been lost under the roar of nationalism and the applause of crowds who mistake cruelty for strength. And so, with 6 weeks left until Christmas, maybe this is the moment for reckoning that the church keeps running from. If you claim, she asks, to follow that baby, are you claiming that? If you stand under that cross, then these 6 weeks are your test, your choices, your clarity. As the clock ticks towards Christmas, I keep thinking about that baby in the stable, a brown-skinned newborn born into empire, born into danger, born into displacement. And I wonder what it would look like, what it would mean for people to honor him not with pageants and plastic angels, but with action. with love that costs something, with justice that moves. 6 weeks until Christmas. 6 weeks to decide what we are actually celebrating. 6 weeks to choose whether this season becomes ritual or resistance. 6 weeks to choose what that baby taught when he became a man. It's simple, really. Love. Thank you for reading and for being here. Love to you all. Judith. I left a lot of sections out there because, believe it or not, it was like twice as long as what we actually read. But Judith says all Christians in America, especially evangelical Protestants, which I'm never going to claim to be the spokesperson of. I'm not. I am unapologetically Catholic. But we love our evangelical Protestant brothers and sisters. All of you need to take the next 6 weeks and look yourself in the mirror to ask yourself, am I really following the teachings of Jesus? Am I really celebrating what Christmas is supposed to be all about instead of quasi-worshiping Trump? And most importantly, am I really loving my neighbor, loving my enemy, loving all of humanity by choosing to see the face of Christ in the people around me in my own backyard? It's a great question, actually. And I think it's something that we should all be checking in with ourselves every once in a while on, because after all, it is up to all of us to make sure that as Christians, we are actively dying to self every day and rejecting the sin that is constantly present in our world to instead embrace perfect truth and perfect love. And that love is Jesus Christ. But Judith, I have some questions for you based on this article, because interestingly, from this same woman, her most recent post on Instagram is this about Donald Trump's little Miss Piggy comment on the airplane. Donald Trump dead. I'm going to leave this up for a second. Donald Trump dead on the red carpet. And the caption of this insane post from our friend Judith from Portland is someday ... with the song overlaid on Instagram, which we can't play for copyright purposes, Celebration by Kool and the Gang. Finally quiet, Piggy, because Donald Trump has finally been assassinated someday. Wishful thinking as we all grab microphones and sing Celebration at the top of our lungs. Is that, Judith, as the spokesperson for evangelical Christianity, is that love? I'm just asking at this point because I think it needs to be said. Don't go anywhere. We will get back into the holiday spirit in just a second. But first, did you know your skincare might be more toxic than your food? I know, it's insane. But just like choosing to eat healthy food, we have to be really careful about what we're putting on our body. Throughout my entire pregnancy, I became hyper aware of every single product that I was using for all of my skincare regimen, reading all of the labels, researching the ingredients, and realizing just how many actually toxic chemicals I had let into my daily routine. You guys, I urge you, if you have not already, your homework for tonight is to read the label on your favorite face lotion or moisturizer, because it honestly probably reads like a lab report. I ended up swapping my toxic moisturizer for Cow Guy's Tallow Balm. It's a natural hydrating balm with ingredients that you can actually pronounce. It has brought me so much confidence over the past few months, knowing exactly what I have been putting on my body is not only natural and safe, but also way more effective than conventional alcohol or water-based lotions. My skin is literally glowing. Tallow Balm is what we have used for generations, way before Big Pharma ever decided to ruin skincare. You can use it as lotion on your hands, your arms, your legs, your face, your lips, anywhere. I promise you, your skin will love it. Plus, it is made here in America, in rancher-owned, heart of the country, Texas. It is the best tallow balm that you can possibly find. You can search up cowguys.shop to get your bottle and get a second one for free. No special code needed. That is 6 to 8 months of moisturizer for just $34. We have loved using it in my house, not just for me, but I often have to go steal it from my husband's side of the bathroom counter because he loves it so much. So especially if you're thinking about what to get for gifts for the men in your life this winter as well, highly, highly recommend. Again, you guys can search cowguys.shop and get 2 bottles for the price of 1. Judith says that Jesus Christ, the brown baby who was born into an empire, into violence, into refugee status, that brown baby would be completely ignored and stepped over by today's American evangelicals. There was that line in the second paragraph, or the first paragraph of this article that I read for you. A baby who wouldn't have survived under the same policies that American Christians cheer for now. She's wildly concerned about the plight of violence against babies, and we should be concerned about the plight of violence against babies. But this same author then also posts things like this from The Handmaid's Tale on her Instagram about abortion policies in the United States of America, comparing pro-life activism to The Handmaid's Tale. She says, this was 14 weeks ago, not that long ago, sound the alarm, sound the alarm. The Handmaid's Tale isn't fiction anymore, it's policy. And the men pulling the strings aren't even trying to hide it. Women, she says, are bleeding out in hospital parking lots because doctors are too scared of jail to save them. Little girls, children, are forced to carry pregnancies from rape because the law says their trauma doesn't matter. Women with wanted pregnancies are being told, come back when you're closer to death before they can get life-saving care. None of these things are true, by the way. Literally every single one of these things can be debunked in a matter of half a millisecond if you had any sort of critical thinking or logical ability to do the bare minimum amount of research. I wrote about this in my latest article on Patreon. Give me money so I can keep fear-mongering to you and raising your temperature, because I am done being quiet, done watching billionaires and white nationalists erase us in plain sight. So you champion abortion policies with one hand, but with the other hand, you write on your Substack that you're worried that people would have treated Jesus, the baby, as, and I quote, a baby who wouldn't have survived under the same policies they cheer for now. Is this hypocrisy? Is this what they call irony? Or, Judith, just a quick question for you. Is this supposed to be love? Because it's the same things that you're posting about, with middle fingers and all, that are actively taking the lives of 3,000 babies every single day in the United States of America. Something that we as Christians should be wildly outspoken about, terrified about, concerned about, and pushed to activism on. What is it you said at the end? That our love has to be resistance. We have to bring this into action with justice that moves. But the only justice we seem to be fighting for is women literally ending the lives of their own children in the name of progress, which is flagrantly against any teaching that Jesus Christ ever would have shared here on earth. This is the same woman, for the record, who in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death said that she was wildly concerned about the rising temperature of hate in the air today in America. Not the hate that took Charlie Kirk's life, but the hate of everyone rallying together to say that we are done with the radical terrorists of Antifa after the fact. Here's what she had to say in her car.
Hey everyone. Yesterday was heavy. Another school shooting in Colorado, children's lives stolen, families shattered, and yet barely a whisper about it. At the same time, Charlie Kirk's death dominated the headlines. Today, Trump is putting him on a pedestal while saying nothing for the grieving families, nothing against the gun violence that shatters through our communities. On top of that, Republicans blocked the release of the Epstein files yesterday. Survivors were silenced, the truth withheld. And now, with Charlie Kirk's death, all that outrage has shifted into anger towards the left. The rhetoric today has been violent, full of calls to arms. And I've felt the weight of it. Maybe you have too. There's been a lot of hate in the air today, not just from the right, but from both sides. And it's discouraging, and it makes the world feel darker. But I want to remind you, we are not violent. That's not who we are. And that's not the future we are fighting for. The rage, the hate, the calls for destruction, that's not our path. It's okay if today feels heavy on your heart. It's okay to sit in that weight and to breathe. Feeling it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, and it means you care. We can feel the anger, the grief, the exhaustion, and still choose to channel it into truth, into solidarity, into something that builds rather than destroys. That's the real power we hold. So if you're struggling today, know you are not alone. I feel it too. Take care of yourself, lean on each other, and remember, we are stronger than hate. Always. I've got you.
Hate being what? Feelings of frustration that we're watching a trans violence epidemic take place across our country, where mass school shootings have occurred multiple times in the last few years because of deranged, violent leftists trying to take the life of young Christian children, to martyr our friend on college campuses. So us being upset about that is hate. Since we are in the holiday spirit and thinking about all things Christmas, I'm so excited that today's episode of the show is brought to you by our friends at Grazia, always fresh, single origin olive oil. The holidays are here, and I'm so excited to tell you about the olive oil that we use every day that makes the perfect gift. Seriously, way better than an extra pair of socks or just a silly thing that you're not even going to remember 6 months from now. Grazia is my go-to for holiday shopping because their olive oil is incredibly fresh. You can even see the harvest date right on the bottle, which is a really thoughtful detail. They make gifting so easy with ready-to-go sets like their new dinner party pack, which includes a limited edition bottle of wine, cooking and finishing oils, a custom corkscrew, and extra virgin olive oil, potato chips. Basically a complete dinner party in a box, which we could all use this time of year. They also have their classic gift sets with both sizzle and drizzle oils available in either squeeze bottles or glass, depending on whatever you're looking for. We cook with olive oil basically every single day in our family's house. If we're not using beef tallow, we are using olive oil, and I can absolutely start to tell the difference, what my favorite brands have started to be as we've cooked with olive oil regularly over the years. Grazia has become my absolute favorite to use. It makes everything taste amazing when I'm cooking with it, or if I'm putting it over food after the fact, like in a salad dressing or even drizzled over ice cream. Don't knock it until you try it. It looks so good in your kitchen, and it has become my absolute favorite kitchen staple. You guys can head to grazia.co/Isabel and use code Isabel to get 10% off your order and get cooking this holiday season, hopefully with some Grazia gift packs with some fresh, delicious olive oil. But we're not violent people on the left, she says, 9 weeks ago. And then literally just a few days ago, I'm going to put it back up for you again, posts a literal death threat against the president of the United States. Her most recent post on Instagram being President Donald Trump laying dead because he's finally quiet, you piggy president. Someday, ... Is that love, Judith? On the day Charlie Kirk died, she actually only even posted one thing on Instagram, which is rare. This woman posts like 15 times a day. It was a tweet quoting Charlie Kirk about a completely unrelated situation to justify his death, which a whole lot of mainstream media outlets were doing as well. This was her post on September 10th, 2025. Quote, I think it is worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. Charlie Kirk, 2023. With the caption, Charlie Kirk in his own words. Why would someone post that? the day that someone was assassinated seconds after sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. For love? For radical Christian unity? For showing the love of Jesus Christ and the mercy and compassion of Christ to the world? It is so obvious to me that we really are living in two different realities. And for some of these people, they're living in two simultaneously different realities in their own head. Because I am struggling in real time to remotely grapple with and grasp how you can write a poignantly, beautifully written, this woman is a great writer. I vehemently disagree with everything she's saying, but she's a great writer. Beautifully written Substack piece about rallying around the real reason for Christmas, the manger, Jesus Christ, radical love for all humanity. I disagree with all of her takeaways there, but that is true. And at the same time, while challenging your enemies, political enemies, to radically embrace love in a culture of hate, can actively hope for the assassination of the President of the United States out loud, very unapologetically, behind Kool and the Gang's Celebration playing, can justify the high-profile assassination, the highest-profile assassination in our country's history since really JFK and his brother in many decades of Charlie Kirk, can claim that it's okay. It's actually important for us to protect any legal ability for us to slaughter our own children in the womb, and countless other examples. I actually don't disagree with Judith's initial gripe here that the American church might be missing the mark. But actually, ironically, when she talks about looking in the mirror, where the American church is missing the mark today and where I think all Christians, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, really need to recenter our priorities this almost Advent season. I think we have one more weekend, which is so exciting. Getting into Christmas is to ask ourselves, are we genuinely attempting to reflect the Jesus Christ of the Gospels in the world today? Not a rainbow-washed, watered-down Jesus that would be more culturally salient today in America. Not a woke, progressivized version of the church where it's an easier pill to swallow if you don't want to let go of your secular viewpoints and your preconceived notions about the world. Not a politicized church that is constantly trying to buy into whatever's going to be most politically expedient based on the entertainment industry, the legacy media, the political establishment, and so much more, but actually Jesus Christ. And the same goes for conservatives, by the way. I mean, obviously we see this problem exacerbated a whole lot more on the political left, but I think sometimes we often have a tendency, Michael Knowles and I talked about this not that long ago, we have a tendency as conservatives to just assume everything we're saying and doing and believing in is a radically Christian idea. Most of the time it is, and I'm very grateful for that. I think my religious values preconcede my political perspectives and values and decisions and are so much more important, the foundation of my religious values are. But sometimes I fall short of that. I think we all do. And we have a tendency to put the political nature of what we believe in and do and talk about every day above our call to become less of ourselves and to become more of Jesus Christ. That's a really, really hard call to action to embrace. It's like the least easy thing for any human being to do. It goes against every fiber of our internal nature as human beings with our selfishness and our pride. But to embrace that level of humility, the same amount of humility that caused the God of the universe, the creator of every single thing you can see, feel, touch, explore, imagine, to humble himself, to enter the world through a womb, to be born, to be put in a stable, in poverty. She actually gets that part right. That's the type of humility I hope that all of us can actively embrace. And that goes for you too, Judith, regardless of whether you are a Substacker or a citizen journalist or heck, even a major celebrity. And that's a good segue into the other thing I wanted to talk to you about today. I know we're a couple of days late covering this, but I think it's a really good one. Nicki Minaj suddenly has become like the spokesperson for, hey, we should be really concerned about Christian persecution in the world. I'm not the biggest hip hop or rap fan. I'm going to be the first person to admit that. But I do love Nicki Minaj's music. I have very vivid memories of being very young, much younger than I am right now, driving around in the summertime with my friends in high school with all of our windows down, screaming super bass and all of it. It was so fun. I mean, I really have always loved Nicki Minaj's music. Rooting ourselves in what Christmas is supposed to be all about, I find myself thinking a lot these days about when Mary said, "Let it be done to me according to your will," in Luke 1:38, when she said yes to God's plan, despite the uncertainty, the risk, and the sacrifice that she knew would be ahead. That single yes brought Jesus into the world. And today, mothers across the country are facing their own life-changing moment when they see their baby on an ultrasound screen. Many women facing unexpected pregnancies are scared. Many of them feel alone, and they're being told that without support, they will not be able to make it. They know that without support, that chance to say yes can slip away very, very quickly. But you and I can help to change that. Thanks to listeners like you, preborn network clinics across the country offer immediate practical support to moms who are facing uncertainty. They provide maternity clothes, diapers, counseling, and so much more. So far, more than 380,000 babies across our country have been born because someone like you showed up for a mom in need. But thousands more lives hang in the balance every single day. Most estimates show actually that more than 3,000 kids in our country are dying at the hands of the abortion industry every 24 hours. So as we're especially thinking this holiday season about how we can serve our communities and the people around us, I know that you can be the hope a mother needs. You can help to give a baby the chance to live, which is the greatest gift that you could ever give anyone. Even just getting the opportunity for a mom to meet her baby through an ultrasound screen can change everything. Moms are extremely more likely to choose life for their baby once they see them. And I'll never forget, as a mom myself, the chance that I got to meet my daughter for the very first time when she was about 10 weeks old on an ultrasound, seeing her hand wave at me, seeing her dance around in my tummy. All of a sudden, it just felt so much more real and my excitement went through the roof. I know I want to give that to more moms in need this holiday season, and you should too. You guys can donate securely by picking up your phone, dialing pound 250 and saying the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or visiting preborn.com/Isabel. That's preborn.com/Isabel. Every single gift that you give is tax deductible, which is important here at the end of the year and impacts generations to come. And I've been really inspired the last few days to see this type of radical humility from someone at like the peak of their career, someone who is very, very relevant in Hollywood today, has a lot to lose by putting themselves out there like this, to say, you know what, this isn't about me. This isn't about my career. This isn't about how many albums I'm going to sell or song downloads I'm going to have. This isn't about me having opportunities for the next record deal or the next tour or the next thing in Hollywood. This is about telling the truth as loud as I possibly can to the world in a very radical way. So in case you missed it, Nicki Minaj earlier this week was invited by some friends of mine actually who work in and around the Trump administration after she was so vocally supportive of Donald Trump taking action against Christian persecution in Nigeria, to come speak at the United Nations about why she was so passionate about this and what we need to do moving forward. Did not have Nicki Minaj as UN spokesperson against Christian persecution on my 2025 bingo card, but these are the good surprises that we have loved to see in 2025 amidst all of the insanity of that other reality, the upside down, if you will, that so many people like our friend Judith seem to be living in every day. So here's Nicki at the UN.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. I stand here as a proud New Yorker with a deep sense of gratitude that we live in a country where we can freely and safely worship God regardless of one's creed, background, or politics. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion.
Amen. Go off, Queen. Also, she looked beautiful. I'm just here for the Nikki glow up era. Not that she ever really needed a massive glow up, but to see her standing at the UN talking about this stuff, dressed very beautifully and importantly, modestly. I mean, she has the capacity here to impact so many people in an unexpected way. And yet, of course, there's all the hate on social media about it. I can't tell you how many TikToks I've seen and tweets I've seen about Nicki Minaj being now like radically brainwashed by the Trump administration. And it's so insane that she's gone off the deep end. If the deep end means that you are actively standing against Christians being slaughtered by the thousands every single day for going to church, for singing worship music, for proudly proclaiming that Jesus Christ is the King of the universe, I will gladly lead the charge off the deep end. But again, speaking of this like two reality thing, when even you look at the rap world, what we're seeing in America today is the Nicki Minaj speeches of the world, like the one you just watched, that was poised and beautiful and mature and clearly radiating the wisdom of God, versus, I don't know, do you guys remember when Cardi B spoke at the Kamala Harris rally? Because I think maybe we should remind ourselves of that. Here's a perfect little comparison of the two moments.
Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides or dividing people. It is about uniting humanity.
Trump says he's going to protect women whether they like it or not. Well, if his definition of protection is not the freedom of choice.
I mean, you literally can't make this stuff up. Someone is calm, collected, and beautifully trying to unite people. And then there's Cardi B, who's just like randomly reading pre-scripted talking points that she's probably being paid millions of dollars to read out loud. Need we go back and revisit the financial disclosures of how much Kamala Harris was paying these celebrities to make her look cool and relevant in the last desperate attempts on the campaign trail? Do we remember how much she was paying Beyonce? I'm asking my awesome new associate producer, Jess, who I'm sure you guys will get to know very soon. We should ask chat. Let's ask chat. How much did she pay Beyonce? You guys might remember for us, so you guys can... We're looking. Yeah, this is the type of desperation that these people have for this type of cultural relevancy. Totally different reality than like, hey, maybe we should unify people in the name of God. Maybe we should let go of our stupid political partisan divide and see the love of God in one another and the identity of Christ. I don't know. Do we know? $10 to $11 million for Beyonce to come speak on stage for a few minutes to make it look like Kamala Harris was cool. This is the separation of reality that half the country is living in. But in the spirit of Nicki Minaj there, I'm just praying. And I hope that you will join in praying this with me too. As we get closer to actual Christmas Day, we enter into the Advent season this next week and gather together around the Thanksgiving dinner table next week as well, that we really can learn to find radical unity in humanity again. Don't hear me saying that as like bleeding heart liberal, all hold hands and sing kumbaya around the campfire. No, if anything, if you've been paying attention for like 5 minutes after this last week, I'm making it very obvious what ideas we are supposed to be rallying around and not, and unifying around and not, but to find our common shared humanity again. Because the truth is, and this is a hard pill for all of us to swallow, especially in the very difficult commandment to love your enemy, which I struggle with every single day of my life, more in the wake of Charlie's death than I ever have. The truth is, Jesus Christ came into that manger and was born as a baby into this world and gave his life for you on that cross for everybody, for every single person. I was asked about this in a podcast episode that I was a guest on that hopefully is coming out very soon, and I cannot wait to share with you, with our friend Sage Steele a couple of days ago. And we were talking about the love your enemies concept and how sometimes our political divide tends to overshine our genuine love for other people and our desire for the radical transformation of people's heart. And I said then, and I'll say it again here on our show, as hard as it is for me to admit sometimes, nothing would make me happier than someday arriving in the kingdom of heaven, God willing, and seeing the most horrifying, brutal, violent people in all of human history there in heaven, like the Joseph Stalins and the Maos and the Ted Bundys and the Adolf Hitlers of the world. I mean, literally the most evil people who had a chance for redemption, who had a chance for mercy, and who accepted the all-encompassing love of God to walk towards sanctification instead of sin. Because ultimately, we can make as many compelling political arguments as we want in the world. We can write as many fire-breathing Substack articles and interesting own the other side posts on Instagram and TikTok as we want. We can claim that we are on the side of unity and love, but if we're not actively praying every day for the radical transformation of this world to unify those two completely separate realities into a common shared humanity again, and to boldly speak the truth in our world, then we're not really doing much to change things. I hope that this Christmas season we can actually embrace what real love is supposed to look like. Not this stupid, culturally brainwashed, ridiculous political talking point version that we're seeing from these left-wing substackers, but instead rooted in radical truth, in leading people towards the real Jesus of the Gospels, and in restoring, seeing God in one another again, from the babies in our tummies all the way through every phase of our humanity. That's what I'm praying for this Christmas season, and what you should be as well. Extra little Friday fun to have had Libby sleeping here on my lap the whole time. Are you still asleep? Are you mad at me for waking you up? I'm sorry. We're working on a corgi cam. I know you guys are asking for it. Our amazing production team is desperately putting together a corgi cam so that Libby can sleep in her own little bed and do her thing during our episodes of the show. But I hope you have an amazing weekend. We have some awesome Thanksgiving themed content for you guys coming next week, and working very hard on some exciting surprises behind the scenes. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review wherever you are watching or listening. Bye.